Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. Two subjects I'm spending a lot of time on this week. Later in the show I'll be speaking to fellow UK Health Radio presenter Clive de Carle about suntans and sunburning and how you can protect yourself. And I'll also be speaking to Jeff Berg, who's the Client Services Manager at Springfield Convention Visitors Bureau. Springfield's a city in Illinois. It's part of the interviews I started last week with the Great Lakes. I had so much information speaking to the three guys who come over, not just to see me, but to see lots of travel people. I couldn't fit everything in, so I'm completing that with my interview with Jeff in a few moments. When I first started doing this interviewing for my travel show, I went to one PR company in London, and I had loads of free stuff thrown in my direction, so much so I had trouble carrying it all the way home. Hoodies and wine glasses, pens and all that sort of stuff. So I went back to interview him about one of their other clients a week or so later, and I bought extra carrier bags just to be on the safe side, and I got nothing. It was quite disappointing, but it taught me a lesson. Don't expect. I did Illinois a couple of years ago as a state in general, down at an event they were doing for travel agents in Hard Rock in London. And when I came back and I did a little bit more research, I saw a video about Springfield, and it featured an action figure, or doll, as you could say, of Abraham Lincoln. And I thought to myself, that is the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I don't know why, but that little action man with the big hat on just appealed to me. So I tried really hard to find if I can get hold of one, but I failed unless I pop over to Springfield, and I haven't done that yet. I was kind of hoping that Jeff would have one in his bag for me when I went to see him last week, but unfortunately he didn't. No biggie, because I had a great time chatting to him. Although one day I will have one of those Abraham Lincolns, and it will be sitting on my desk in my studio, and I'll be looking at it and it'll make me smile. But anyway, let's get back to the right topic. Springfield. I've already told you, I don't know, maybe half a dozen, maybe a dozen times now that it's in Illinois, but how do you get there from the UK? And that's the first thing that Jeff answered.
There are several ways to get there, but you can fly in via Chicago, direct flight into Chicago, and then you can, depending on how you're traveling, if you're going to do a fly drive from there, you can drive down, you can take Amtrak train down and come right to the center of the city. We also do have airline capabilities, so we can fly direct to Springfield from Chicago as well.
Why is Springfield so well known in the USA?
Well, that is a loaded question. Because I would like to say that Springfield, Illinois is well known for two things. Certainly that Route 66 travels from Chicago directly through Springfield, Illinois on your way to California. So I think that is always an attractive reason to come to Springfield internationally. Springfield, Illinois is the home to Abraham Lincoln. The only home he ever owned was in Springfield, Illinois, and he is one of our country's greatest presidents. But then certainly I would not be quite right if I didn't say that the Simpsons fame maybe has a significant Springfield connection to, and that everybody knows of Springfield because of the Simpsons.
I wasn't going to bring Simpsons up, so I'm glad you did. So why was Abraham Lincoln so well remembered and looked up to?
Really, I think he kept our country together during the Civil War time. There was a real opportunity for the country to split up into different regions, and he was instrumental in his leadership in keeping the country together, but also very significantly important in history because he led the way to the abolition of slavery.
So you celebrate his existence in Springfield. What sort of Abraham Lincoln attractions are there?
We are very lucky in Springfield to have the best different sites and historic attractions related to Abraham Lincoln in the country. We are headed up with the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum, which opened in 2005 and has welcomed over 4 million visitors. For a city of about 120,000, that's a pretty good number. It's a great museum. When people think of museums, a lot of time they have a certain image that comes to mind. That is not this museum. It is a very interactive museum. There are a couple special effect theaters that are in the museum, and we almost say in some ways Disney met Lincoln at the Presidential Museum, because it's very engaging, easy for everyone to participate in, and really just presents history in a new way, I think.
Do you get the chance to wear one of the hats?
There are hats there.
Yeah.
If you want to. You certainly can get one from the gift store when you're leaving the museum.
That's just a surprise there. The
Yeah.
gift store have one. There's walking tours around Springfield as well, based on Abraham Lincoln. Are they all walking, or can you get on a bus, or is it best to walk, or it doesn't make any difference?
What is great about Springfield, no matter how you get there, where you stay when you come, because we have a lot of different options, from bed and breakfast to full service hotels to whatever it is you're looking for. But then really, if you're not staying downtown, you can bring your car downtown and park and really walk for the vast majority of your day. Within walking distance downtown, you have the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum. You have Lincoln Home National Historic Site, which is a part of the National Park Service. You have the old state capitol where Lincoln served in the legislature. You can go visit where he would have been in the Hall of Representatives. We have a beautiful Frank Lloyd Wright home in downtown Springfield, the Illinois state capitol. We are the current capitol and the new cap. I'm saying new, but it's been there for many years now. But the current state capitol is an amazing structure. But there are great local restaurants. There's so much to see and do just in the walking area downtown that you can certainly do that. You would have to drive to Lincoln Tomb. Lincoln Tomb, where Lincoln is buried, is someplace you would have to drive to. But then there are a lot of other options if you want to expand what you're doing in Springfield. You can drive.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. Still to come on the show, fellow UK Health Radio presenter Clive de Carle gives some suggestions about what you can put on your skin to prevent sunburn and what you can use if you do get sunburnt. When he started to say about the stuff to put on your skin if you do have sunburn, I thought, I know the answer to this, and when he gave it, no, I didn't. So do listen and you'll find out. And I'm pretty confident you wouldn't have thought of it either, but that's coming up later in the show. But at the moment I'm speaking to Jeff Berg, who's from Springfield, Illinois. He's from the, I get this right, it's the Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau. He was over last week with other people from the Great Lakes region, and they weren't just coming over to talk to me, they were talking to various travel companies and travel agents to explain why people should visit the region. And from speaking to these guys and speaking to people from earlier interviews, it does look the place to go if you want to go to America. Forget New York. Pop over to one of the Great Lakes states and go there instead. Definitely forget Florida. Sorry to Florida. But yes, I think the weather and everything's probably a lot better in the Great Lakes region, but I can't be biased. We've already found out about how Abraham Lincoln has left his mark on the city, and there's various tours you can do. But there's more to the history of Springfield in Illinois than just Abraham Lincoln. And one thing that happened was the race riots in 1908. Now, Jeff gives an answer about the NAACP. I should have asked him what that meant at the time, but I forgot, so I was too busy listening to the interesting information he was sharing. But the NAACP is the National Association for the Advancement of Coloured People. So now you know what that stands for. But anyway, let's find out about the 1908 race riots.
The 1908 race riots were especially significant because although not a great time in Springfield's history, led to the formation of the NAACP in America, which is a very much associated with human rights. And so it was a dark period in Springfield's history, especially highlighted because Lincoln had worked to get the Emancipation Proclamation signed, and then to have something that where two African Americans were incorrectly accused of a wrongdoing in Springfield, which led to riots on the streets and people losing their lives in 1908. It really resonated over the country, because if that could happen where Lincoln was, then that's a really bad thing. But again, through that came the formation of the NAACP, and we do have, we very much remember that history in Springfield, and have commemorative markers through various locations in the downtown area where the riots mostly occurred, that you can see and read the story about the 1908 race riots.
It sounds like Springfield's had more of an influence on the United States than any other city or town. Would you say that's the case?
Well, I mean, I think we've had a huge impact with the 16th president, with the different things that have happened, have had national implications. But to be fair, there are a lot of other cities that have a major effect. But I think Springfield does stand out for a city its size. Again, only about 117,000 now. That we've had some great impact.
Very diplomatic. You've been practicing that.
No, I didn't.
So it's a city, just over 100,000 people. Does it mean that if you go there as a visitor, it's all buildings and roads, or is there any sort of outdoor activities you can do?
We have great green space in Springfield. First off, if you happen to be traveling with your golf clubs, certainly we have some beautiful courses in Springfield. Now, they're not compared to some of those high-name courses that are in the United States, but beautifully done green space courses that you will be able to enjoy at a fraction of the price that you may take part in other locations. Along Lake Springfield, there is a 100-acre reserve called Lincoln Memorial Garden that was designed by a famous architect, Jens Jenkins, and